Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Nursing home receptionist seizes the chance for revenge when the teacher's spouse becomes a resident. The second story. Machine operator turned sales department member takes a stand against a sexist and abusive boss. With the support of coworkers, they orchestrate a mass resignation. The third story. Receptionist fights back and wins an unfair dismissal case. Returning triumphantly to work, they shock their boss with a multiple sclerosis diagnosis. Today's first story is... It took almost 20 years for this one. I was just reminded of this while chatting with some friends. When I was a child, I was severely dehydrated because I had no natural thirst. In an attempt to get me to drink more often, I was allowed to take a small cooler to school that contained different types of juices, which I would be more inclined to drink than straight water. This generally worked out fine, but my second grade teacher was a real miserable bee. She was grossly fat, morbidly obese, always wore more sleeveless moo-moo dress things that displayed the horrific growths in her unshaven armpits, sported a steel wool mustache, you know the type. There are many examples of SH she did to me, constantly keeping me inside during recess, kept me from going to lunch one day. I went home and told my mother about that one, so it never happened again. She cut my effing hair in class when one of the other kids got gum stuck in it, but the constant battle was the drink cooler. At first she tried refusing to let me drink in class. I was accustomed to having drinks at my desk and was always quiet about it, never spilled, and never taunted the other kids about it. Mostly because I really hated drinking, even delicious juice, and never saw having a special circumstance as something worth bragging about. When she was overruled by the principal in my doctor's note, she started enforcing random rules about the drinks. One instance I remember was while we were trying a new juice, only it turned out to not really be a juice, but it was a weird Jell-O consistency thing in a bottle that was similar to a Mondo drink. I've always been repulsed by Jell-O. It's effing creepy, don't judge me. And the taste made me gag even if the consistency wouldn't. I wasn't allowed to throw it away. I had to finish it in front of the class, gagging and crying the whole time. Keep in mind I was not the only object of her torment throughout the year. There were a handful of other students she loved to single out and humiliate. My attitude toward this hateful bee may come across as petty, but I loved school until I had to stay with this bee 8 hours or longer, when she kept me after school too, a day for nearly a full year. She killed my love for school. I won't even begin to guess how she contributed to my subsequent depression and severe anxiety, and I struggled right up until the day I graduated. The revenge. Almost 20 years later, I'm a receptionist and a returning college student, at the front desk of a nursing home. One of my duties is control of petty cash, which includes releasing funds from a resident's private account. I come in one morning last autumn to see a familiar surname on our resident roster. Curious, I check his personal information. Sure enough, his spouse is a certain miserable bee who tormented me and destroyed my budding passion for academia. One of my other duties is to accept guest meal orders. It wasn't really intentional, but the circumstances were perfect when she came down the first evening looking for food. She showed up at my desk with labored breath, from that dreadful elevator trek down one floor down from her husband's room, and asked about how to get dinner. I patiently explained the ordering process. 2 choices for full meals, a full variety of a la carte items to choose from, etc., and took her order. When I told her it would cost $5, I got a blank stare. But my husband is staying here. Yes, and his meals are covered by the cost of his stay here. As a visitor, your meals are not. Well, that's stupid. I don't have any money down here. And it hits me. Of course it's possible to withdraw the money from your husband's private account. Would you prefer to do that? Yes. This could be a beautiful thing. Due to a recent unrelated incident, we were cracking down on family members accessing a resident's private account. So naturally, I respond cheerfully. Okay, are you your husband's power of attorney? Oh, the hateful glare, yes. No, my sister is. Internally, I'm so excited I'm practically squirming. I don't even wonder about why her sister would be her husband's POA, though I later check out his information and see that the sister is his healthcare proxy, which is completely different. Of course, I remain coolly professional. Unfortunately, you aren't authorized to withdraw money from his account then. I manage an empathetic frown as I pull out a withdrawal form for her. However, you can take this and have him sign it, then have one of the nurses witness it and bring it back. Once that's all taken care of, I can order your meal right away. But I'm his wife. I have authorization for all of his bank accounts. Your tears only make me stronger, B. Yes, but this is a personal account through the care facility. We're very careful about the security of these accounts as a patient's trust in all aspects of the care they receive are of utmost importance to us. It also prevents any legal complications that may arise from miscommunication. She tries to argue some more, but wielding a vocabulary full of syllables, I quickly send her waddling back upstairs. I know by this point that all the nurses will be busy performing their evening care duties and she'll have to waddle from one end of the unit to the other to find out that isn't elbows deep in bathing, changing, or feeding a resident. It's almost half an hour before she returns, panting for breath and covered in sweat. I made that bee go get a withdrawal request every single time she wanted to feed that fat effing face, 3 to 4 times a day. The next story is how I got my boss's job and my coworkers a 15% raise. To the backstory. This all happened in an EU country. I don't say which one, sorry. I did my apprenticeship in a mid to big size factory as a machine operator. After I completed my apprenticeship, I worked in the production for around 1 month. Then I got called into the office and they asked me if I can do some holiday replacement. So I said yes, why not? Better hours and clean work. I got teach the systems, which was pretty easy because I manufactured those parts for 1 year. After my coworker came back from their vacation, they asked me to stay and became a part of their team, so I said yes, sounds good. So I was now working in the sale and quality department. Now to the present time, 7 years later. Our team increased from 5 workers to 15 because of restructuring, which helped us a lot. My boss retired last fall, and after Christmas we got a new young boss around my age, 27, who is a major a-hole and sexist. We got a few weeks before him a new hire, a lovely young girl, age 19, which I trained her. If you are new, you're doing some error, which is totally fine in my opinion. So I come in last Tuesday to hear my new boss screaming like a maniac at this young girl. I asked her what happened, and she said she had filled the wrong form, which happens even to me. My boss noticed it and screamed at her. I paraphrase it. Boss, you stupid little S, how dumb can you be to fill out the wrong form? I should fire you and make sure that you never find any work in this field again. Coworkers started crying at this point. Then my boss stormed into his office and slammed the door shut. I asked my coworker if she's okay and she was still sobbing, so I brought her a coffee and took her to our office grandma. Everyone loves her so much. I was at this point pretty peeved and told everyone what happened. After they learned what he did to our new coworker, 3 stormed into his office and quit after 25 years in this company. My boss said to them that they're worthless and overpaid. They told us that and a plan was formed. Everyone will quit except for me now. What my boss didn't know yet is we had a huge customer audit happening in 3 weeks, which I'm the only certified to prepare for. If we fail this, it would cost us 15 to 20 million euros and the customer would pull the contract. So after my boss learned that the whole department quit except for me, he was even more peeved. Boss, hey, why the hell did everyone quit? Me, maybe because you're an a-hole and a sexist pig? Boss, what did you just say, you a-hole? Me, you know what I said, and do you remember the big audit in 3 weeks by customer X? Boss, yeah, what about that? Me, you know I'm the only one certified to prepare it, right? Boss, yeah, and? Me, I quit as well because I do not want to work for such an a-hole boss. See ya, and walked right out of my other coworkers to say goodbye in the whole factory. The production VP noticed it and asked what happens, so I told him and he was peeved. He called the CEO, which I knew pretty well, and said, Robert, the SH hit the fan big time, come down to the production floor now. The CEO asks if it's important and the VP said if you want to pass the audit in 3 weeks then move your A down here now. So the CEO came running down with the entire C-suites and asked what's so important. Then I piped up and said our whole department quit today and won't come back until this MFer of a boss gets removed and fired. Then they asked what happens and we told them. They were mad and asked how they can fix it. I said fire him and hire a better fit. Because I held the most trainings and qualifications, they asked me, which I gladly said yes. So we took off to my new office with my old department and the CEO in tow. My boss saw me and said arrogantly, decided to come back and beg for your job back, you little R? Me, nah, just to inspect my new office because you're fired by now. He laughed and said that I'm under him and only the CEO can fire him. So the CEO came around the little corner and said to my boss, get the F out of my company. You're fired and I make sure that every company knows what you did. My ex-boss was white as a sheet. After that, the CEO called the police and reported him trespassing. In the end, I got a 70K raise and a bonus option, which I declined and asked if we can split it for my coworkers. I don't need that much money. 1 million euro worth of bonuses. My CEO agreed and everyone got their job back, and we complete the audit without any fails. The customer was happy and so are we too. Edit. Yeah, I can break it down for you so you can understand the raise. First of all, I was just a production worker sitting in sales with a yearly salary of €34,000 without taxes. Now I'm basically the VP of Sales and Quality, which gave me a 50K bump. Then I have some impotent qualifications by our biggest customer, which I negotiate another 20K, and I declined the bonus so I could give my coworker their raise. Edit 2. As I said, they work there so long, some are 40 years in the company, so if they quit and say goodbye to everyone, they know something isn't right. And here is it by law, if you work there 40 years as an example, you have to give 7 months notice, and some knew the CEO and head of HR privately or even trained them when they started. The last story is, that's right, you're stuck with me. So I was working in a private healthcare facility about 2 years ago. I had been working a receptionist for around 6 months when my new boss was hired. He seemed like a nice enough guy, and we'd been without a manager for a long while, so as a team we were looking forward to having someone being the head of the department and communicate with other departments on our behalf, so we were able to get on with our work. At this job there was a 12-month probationary period, and at around 6 months I started getting ill. My immune system was really low flu here, tonsillitis, their list goes on, and when these things happened I called in sick. When it hit the end of the year meeting to tell me if I'd passed probation, I was sent an email to invite a location for the meeting, the hallway. I blinked a few times wondering why is this meeting in the hallway and not in an office. Either way I accepted, as what else could I do really? I make my way out into the hallway where I'm told that I've not passed my probation, and this will be last day due to my sickness. Now I understand sickness can get you fired if there's enough of it. What I couldn't understand is why my boss wasn't accompanied by a member of HR, and why this was happening to me in a hallway. After looking into my employment rights, it became quite obvious that I had been treated unfairly, so I did what anyone would do. I opened a case against them citing unfair dismissal, and after 3 months of them paying me my full wages, I won. I was asked what I wanted, the outcome to be after winning, and I stated I wanted to return to my job. The look on my boss's face when I returned that day was priceless. Upon returning, HR were far more involved than before, as you can imagine, and insisted on setting up a meeting between myself, them, my boss, and a medical professional to address the amount of time I had been off sick. In the meeting, I was told in no uncertain terms that I could not take time off due to sickness. I asked what if I'm truly too unwell to come into work. Their reply was as follows: if it were a disability such as multiple sclerosis, we would be happy to assist you. However, it seems to be a weakened immune system. Therefore, you must make every effort. Ironically, at this moment, I was actually losing the sensation in my legs at the time. I thought this could be stress-related, as I had just returned to a job that fired me in a hallway. But can you guess what it was? Oh yes, it was. I was having multiple sclerosis attack, my first. Once I left the hospital, I had some problems with my balance, and was unable to walk properly for a further 3 months. But the moment I got my formal diagnosis, you bet I called my boss and said, so it's multiple sclerosis. Guess you can assist me after all. Thinking, that's right, buddy, you're stuck with me now. I only spent another 6 months in the job after all that, mostly because I didn't trust anyone to deal with my case. But I did enjoy watching my boss walk on eggshells the entire time. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day.